For All Mankind is a show that I love dearly. While it does have writing that can rival the likes of Jesser, We Need to Cook Methy, one of my favorite things about the show is the technology. Every vehicle and concept you see in the show is not as unrealistic as you would expect. One thing that has always piqued my interest, though, is the Jamestown lunar base. All the show says about it is it was launched on a Saturn V, and magically, the rest of the infrastructure just was there. So, what actually goes on in a Jamestown mission, at least when it was the 1970s, where Jamestown was but a single module? And the first thing is the Lsim, or the Lunar Surface Access Module, which you can see me building here. It is essentially a successor to the Apollo's Lunar Excursion Module, and it actually uses the same engines, and you'll see it later when I change it, but it actually uses the same cockpit. You can call it that. Cabin, crew cabin, sure. Same landing legs as well. You can see I'm using a lot of parts from the lunar lander because when I was building this, I was also trying to think of in the minds of the engineers. I mean, this was fresh off the Apollo program. In fact, this was still the Apollo program. And I was thinking, okay, what are they going to try to reuse? How can they cut costs and reuse existing technology? Like, for example, there the docking port is the Apollo lander's docking port. Those are actually RCS thrusters from the Apollo lander. And just talking more about the Lsim, its purpose is, unlike the lunar lander, unlike the lunar excursion module, sorry, it is one stage, and that stage is capable of taking off and landing from the lunar surface multiple times. I think when I tested it, it came out to about, I could go to and from lunar orbit from the surface about twice before needing to refuel, which is pretty good. And it actually also, in the wiki says this, but I also found this out in, there you can see me changing the crew cabin, but I also found this out in the game when I was testing this. It has dual engine out capability, which means if 2 of those 4 engines fail, it actually has enough thrust to continue flying, to continue taking off and landing reliably, while not as snappy, and it definitely does bring down something like the payload capacity, where you will need some extra thrust if you're carrying, say, extra fuel or cargo. It really does help, and as you can see here, speaking of cargo, I'm adding some lockers or whatever, just to put parts in whenever I need to ferry things like that, looking through cargo now. And refueling, I'm not sure about the real fuels. From my very simple research, the actual, in KSB it doesn't matter. There you can see me adding back seats, because in the show there are astronauts who will sit on the back of the Lsim and sort of stand on the back of it, much like a helicopter, which is very cool. And there you can actually see me attaching a fuel hose, because obviously this thing should be able to, refuel from mining depots and etc. And so we've made that, and now we are launching the mission. We're launching this on a Saturn V, and the mission is actually pretty standard, because all it needs to do is replace the Lunar Excursion Module with the Lsim, which actually fits quite nicely. So you can see me, I'm using MechJeb for this takeoff, because I am way too lazy to fly it manually, and I've been playing a lot of RP1, and I cannot fly without MechJeb, honestly. There's so many good things that it does. So I'm launching into a 250 by 250 kilometer orbit. No particular reason, just because I'm used to the real solar system. This is obviously Kerbin, so this is smaller. In fact, Kerbin's size in the game is actually smaller than our moon. So it did feel refreshing to be able to get something into orbit very easily. So we're going for a 250 by 250 kilometer orbit. That's normally what I go for in the real solar system. You can see me here just messing with some stuff. I was trying to see a rendezvous planner using MechJeb as much as I could, then realized, no, I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way. There's setting up my lunar orbit. I'm going to go for a low 10 by 10 kilometer lunar orbit, which is a pretty standard thing. Means I won't need to use as much fuel when I take off and land. And I would be bringing 3 Kerbals, but I would be bringing 3 Kerbals, maybe 4, if I could find a way to fit. No. The Apollo era missions still only had 3 Kerbals, even in the show. But the other 2 are actually in Skylab, because my original plan was to do this with space shuttles, but whole bunch of complications, me being rusty with the space shuttle, frustrated with the game. I'm not going to do the space shuttles. I will do that later on, possibly even with the real solar system, because by then I'll be really good at flying. But I'm going to be... I'll explain that in a minute, actually, because right now what we're doing is the classic maneuver, where the Apollo capsule detaches from the S4B stage. We've performed our translunar injection, and we are now lining up using MechJeb to point parallel to the docking port, which helps a lot. And then, as per usual, I forget that it's by default the probe is set to actually allow docking and not the other way around where you have to manually set it. So that maneuver, we actually made our lunar orbit go a little bit like that, so not the best. But that's fine. We can do a very, very small burn up ahead. Just turning on the lights, extending antennas, just all that fun stuff. I think actually, oh yeah, there I'm lowering the thrust. But going back, I was going to send a space shuttle to the moon in the show. Not landing the actual space shuttle on the moon, no. But there were just so many complications, and I couldn't do anything Friday because of the football game, and Saturday I was working on another project all day. So now today, Sunday, a day before this is due. Don't worry, I still put in a lot of effort. I've been spending my entire day doing this, but I was going to do space shuttles. I was going to refuel them at Skylab, as is mentioned in the show, and also physically possible, because you just do not have enough fuel to get to the moon without it, and just a whole bunch of stuff. There was so many complications. I'll do that later on. But no, for now I'm just going for a 70s mission profile, especially since I was going to make the full 80s Jamestown expansion, but no, would have been too much. Now here, I got into lunar orbit, but I actually kind of screwed it up a little bit, and my periapsis was way too low, so I just did a quick apogee kick right here, and all of this maneuvering actually meant that we were in a 20 by 20 orbit, which is not bad, but at the same time, not completely good. There I'm turning down physics range extender, which is, as you'll see later, a huge mistake, because physics range extender, I don't even know why I still have it installed, honestly. Probably a good reason, actually, but still, it's really iffy, and it will lag your game so much because it will load in craft even while you're flying in orbit, which is just the most annoying thing. So we actually leave the CSM unoccupied there. It actually loaded in the vessel, so kind of screwed up where I wanted to land. Yeah, so no, we're leaving the command module in orbit without crew. That's fine. Obviously, we're going to be down here a lot longer, because especially in the show, we would definitely want to be spending as much time as we can here refueling. Like, I think in the show, Jamestown missions, crew rotations, they're every 6 months. So, that's pretty insane. Right here, I was using MechJeb's landing guidance. I don't remember if I ended up using it completely there. I renamed the Lsim to Lsim 1. I don't know if I'll be completely ditching it later. I know I am using it here a little bit. There, it kind of freaks out, as MechJeb does sometimes. And in general, I'm just sort of landing this thing next to Jamestown, which you can see there. And, oh no, yeah, no, the landing guidance does. Yeah, I thought I flew this down manually, but no, the landing guidance was very helpful. So, we've now approached touchdown on the lunar surface, right there. And it's at this point where I realized me turning down physics rating descender put Jamestown 25 kilometers underground. So I kind of had to just cheat it out of the ground, and we're just going to pretend that it was always there, because there is literally no way in real life that this thing would be able to bury itself 25 kilometers under the ground. So there we are. It's landed. And the Lsim is there. Obviously, whenever the crew rotation happens, the Lsim will be brought up into lunar orbit, and the crew will transfer from there. I'm trying to think now. I'm definitely thinking they dock to the new CSM, bring down the new crew, then bring up the old crew. Just have one pilot bring everyone down, and then leave, because the Lsim stays there for future missions, and just transferring the last crew. So, black screen there because footage over. But yeah, no, the footage over. I was gonna do a whole lot more than this. I would have if I had time, if I'm being honest. Is that me being lazy? That's for you to decide, but I don't think rocket science is being lazy. So that was it. That was Jamestown 73, and I will definitely be expanding this later in real solar system as well.